All right, let's not waste any more time and get into part 2 of grading every Eastern Conference team as we sit here at the All-Star break, which is about 50 to 52-ish games in. We are going to still continue from the bottom up, from the 8th seed through the 1st seed. I did part 1 already. You could check that out. I'll leave a link in the description below. But let's get to the 8th seeded Orlando Magic. You know, after starting off pretty good to start the year, they've kind of been more so up and down, but they're still 5 games above 500. They still have a top 7 defense, which is the most impressive part of all this, is that Jamal Mosley is getting the young guys to defend. They have their wing duo of the future in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, obviously. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. They have had guys step up like Gogo Pataze and Mo Wagner, while Wendell Carter Jr. was sitting out with injury. Markelle Fultz missed a big chunk of the year. Jalen Suggs has taken a pretty sizable leap and is one of the best perimeter guard defenders in the NBA. I'm going to give the Orlando Magic a solid B. I think their offense could be a lot better. I'm actually kind of shocked they didn't do anything at the trade deadline to kind of address the shooting, because they are 24th in offensive rating per Cleaning the Glass, and it kind of looks like it when you watch them. But they have awesome young players. They're taking the leap that everybody expected them to make. Many of them, if you watched the post-January Magic last year, they had basically a 500 record, and they continued that play going into this year. So I give the Magic a B, not giving them a B plus or an A minus, because I think the offense could be better. But as far as expectations, the young guys are playing great. They are in a position to make the playoffs because they're the 8th seed and are currently in the top end of the play-in. So I give the Magic a B grade. Then we go to probably the toughest team to grade, the Miami Heat. And this grade I'm going to give them is definitely going to be different from every other team and the grade I'm going to give them. But I've said all year on this channel, the Miami Heat are a wake me up when the playoffs start type of team. Their track record getting to the finals in the Eastern Conference Finals is pretty impeccable, especially when you have Eric Spoelstra, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler. By the way, my condolences to Jimmy Butler, who is dealing with a death in the family. The Heat started off the year strong despite, a bunch of injuries early on, and then they went on a downturn. They had a 7-game losing streak, and some of that was also after the Terry Rozier trade, which I like for them still. But I still like this Heat team. Bam Adebayo, after what appeared to be a big scoring leap, he's kind of come back down to earth a little bit the last few weeks. Jimmy Butler hasn't been exactly Jimmy Butler this year, but we know what time it is when it's playoff time. There are a lot of players on this Heat team that I like, and they are starting to get it together, but honestly, I have said it all year, I'm not too concerned about them. It might sound like a cop-out, but at this point, the regular season for the Heat really doesn't matter to me. I'm still going to analyze and break down the Heat and stuff like that, but if you're asking me if I'm worried about the Heat come playoff time, no, I'm not. I've learned my lesson, and so for now, I give the Heat an incomplete. You know how you have those teachers that give you an incomplete grade when you didn't complete your assignment, or the teacher thinks you didn't answer a question correctly on the test and you get it incomplete? That's what the Heat get. The Indiana Pacers, who are the 6th seed, by about half a game over the 7th seed in Miami Heat. Tyrese Halliburton has taken a leap this year. Benedict Mathurin taking a leap this year as well, although not as big of a leap. Miles Turner still providing great rim protection and shooting the 3 well. Although the Pacers are one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA, they are 31-25. A team that I thought had a great shot to be a play-in team, is full-on in the playoffs, and one of the best offenses in NBA history. And like I said, Tyrese Halliburton has taken the leap to become a full-blown superstar. I think the loss of Buddy Hield will affect the Pacers' offense a little bit, especially in the short term, because his shooting and gravity is just so important for what the Pacers do, and that double drag screen they like to run with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield both screening for Halliburton. They really got a lot of mileage out of that because it was super effective. But I like the trade for Pascal Siakam. And Halliburton talked about Siakam ad nauseum on JJ Redick's recent podcast about how Siakam just gets it when he's playing with the Pacers. Transition, you can throw the ball to him on the block. The defense is still bad, but I think they are figuring stuff out there. Offense, I'm not concerned about. This team has exceeded expectations. They are one of the fastest paced teams in the league. I did a video on them before the season started about how they could be the fastest NBA team of the last 25 years. But it doesn't look like they'll hit that mark, but they are still one of the fastest teams in recent NBA memory. So I'm giving the Pacers a B+. And then real quickly, because I talk about them a lot on this channel, I feel like the Philadelphia 76ers, this would have been an easy A for me if Joel Embiid, didn't tear his meniscus, unfortunately. But going into the season with all the Harden drama and just how big of a leap is Tyrese Maxey gonna make, I thought he would be an all-star this year, but through a lot of the season, he had a case, or at least a fringe case, to be an all-NBA type of player. But then the James Harden trade happens, you get a bunch of wings in, then a bunch of injuries just hit in the last month, and it's just really tanked the Sixers and took them from what was half a game or a game out of the second seed all the way down to the fifth seed. You lose who was the clear MVP favorite due to a knee injury, and now you're basically just treading water. The Buddy Hield trade will help out a little bit. Hopefully Tobias and Melton and Batum can come back, because this has just been Hospital Sixers plus Tyrese Maxey, Hospital Sixers plus Tyrese Maxey and Buddy Hield, and then just a bunch of shuffling. And they've treaded water well, but the question is, can they tread water enough for the MVP to come back and, not dip too far to where you're a play-in seed? So I'm giving the Sixers a B+. This would have been an easy A. The Sixers have a B+ for me. Then we go to the New York Knicks, whom before the OG Anunoby trade probably would have been in the C- range. But since the OG Anunoby trade, they have been flat out one of the best teams in the NBA. They've hit a little, rut recently because of all the injuries to, Anunoby, Brunson, Julius Randle, etc. But when this team is healthy and they have their full playoff rotation, which is 9 to 10 deep, and you're not even including Mitchell Robinson, who looks to come back at the end of the season, this Knicks team is really good. They did a good job putting this team together. They did a good job adding talent on top of a team that nearly won 50 games last year and made it to Game 7 of the second round last year. And they're better than ever. And now they put themselves in a position where they didn't give up any big assets in any of the trades they did. They beefed up a little bit again at the trade deadline. And not only do they save their big picture team building, short term, I really like this team a lot. I really like their playoff rotation. I'm dinging them a little bit for a slow start to the season, but I'm giving the Knicks an A-. Could be an A. You could definitely talk me into an A, but just the way they've been playing this year and that OG Anunoby trade really changed the trajectory of how good this team can be. And the little rut recently, I combine all that in, but you could definitely talk me into an A, but I'm giving them an A-. Then we go to my preseason pick to come out of the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's just keep it real. The Bucks have been utterly disappointing. I know they have a really good record. They're 35-21, but this season has not gone the way Bucks fans had hoped, which is weird because you keep looking at their record and it's like, damn, I want that record. That's one of the best records in the league. You have two players who are on the NBA's all-time top 75 list. You have Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, who has been really feast or famine this year, too much for my liking, in fact. But this team, this season for the Bucks, I'm giving it a B-, and really their record and the play of Giannis, who has somehow just been banned from MVP conversations, is saving this grade because they have been bad defensively. And while I had issues with Adrian Griffin not using the Giannis Dame two-man game more, I would have given him another year. But then you fire your coach, you then hire Doc Rivers, of all people. Well, not only that, you introduce Doc Rivers to your organization by making him an informal consultant, which we all know what that means. Doc was going to get this job. And then now the Bucks are 3-7 under Doc Rivers, losing to a Grizzlies team who plays hard, by the way. The Grizzlies are not like your run-of-the-mill, this is an easy win against a bad NBA team kind of night. They play hard. They still have young talent, even though it's a bunch of injuries right now. But you lose to them. Doc, once again, I can tell you as a Sixer fan, the Doc Rivers experience, you're going to get a lot of media quotes and a lot of funny, savvy media quotes because Doc knows how to handle the media. But just the excuses he's making with these losses. Oh, my debut, they had a back-to-back. It was altitude. We're just not. We weren't ready for that. And then, after the Grizzlies game, it's like, oh, we had some guys in Cabo, It's just been a very underwhelming season for the Bucks. The turn of events they have taken to get to this point. And look, there are some things I think the Bucks are doing better in with Doc at the helm than Adrian Griffin. They're definitely more organized. Players have, condensed roles now. And the young guys aren't playing, which is part of the Doc handbook. But this is just not the season the Bucks were hoping for. And it's weird because they're 35-21, but I'm giving them a B-. And then we move to the hottest NBA team of the last 2 months, the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this is pretty simple. They get an A+ to date as we sit here at the All-Star break. The Cleveland Cavaliers, I did a video on them. I talked about the Cleveland Cavaliers with my good friend Evan Damerel, who does the Locked On Cavs podcast. So if you're a subscriber of the channel and you want to see my face, because I actually did face cam for this podcast, you could check that out on the Locked On Cavs podcast YouTube channel. The Cavs get a simple A+ for me because while they did start the season 13-12, and at that point they had lost Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, they found their identity. They changed their identity, started playing players like Sam Merrill stepped up, Dean Wade looking like he's shooting with confidence and doesn't have that bothersome shoulder injury anymore. Isaac Okoro is one of the best point-of-attack wing defenders in the NBA. Dean Wade, by the way, also a really underrated defender. They are just shooting the shit out of the ball when it comes to threes. Attempts, makes, percentage. Sam Merrill's per 36 3-point attempts always fucking amaze me. Now Garland and Mobley are back, and they still haven't missed a beat. It's pretty crazy. And not only that, they can stagger Mobley and Allen, which they had been doing anyway, but they're still going to roll with the starting lineup of the double bigs plus Mitchell and Garland in the backcourt, along with Max Strus. But now, with how they had been playing with Mobley and Garland out, they found multiple lineups that work, and now they can just cycle through different types of identities as a team, all within the same team, if that makes sense. The Mitchell, Strus, Okoro, Dean Wade, and Allen lineup is blistering. The double big lineup with Mitchell and Garland in the backcourt is still a positive net rating wise and was last year as well. And then you can stagger Garland and Mobley and have them play together with Mitchell and Allen off the court. The Garland, LeVert, Okoro, Niang, and Mobley lineup is a 123.9 offensive rating with a 108.3 defensive rating. This Cavs team is really fucking good. They have a lot of good lineups, and teams looking to attack the Cavs' weakest lineups through certain pockets throughout a game, they just can't find the lineups to attack because all of their most used lineups are really good. It's just that simple. So the Cavs get an A+ for me. And then the other A+ goes to the number 1 seed Boston Celtics because duh. They have the number 1 offense, the number 3 defense. They have arguably the best wing duo in the NBA in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Kristaps Porzingis has unlocked everything with that team. Jrue Holiday as well has brought, the defense, the shooting, the playmaking, even though it does look like he makes some dumb decisions in crunch time. But that's the rap with Jrue. You take the good with the bad. But this Celtics team is easily the favorite to come out of the East. The top 6 in their rotation is arguably the most talented top 6 in a rotation in the NBA. They keep making smart and savvy moves like the Xavier Tillman trade. And then pillaging Jaden Springer from the Sixers, which is a trade I'm still kind of annoyed about because the Sixers just gave Springer away for free to the Celtics, who do a good job developing people. By the way, Brad Stevens, really good job as a front office guy. He's just made a lot of savvy moves. All those moves have come to fruition. The Celtics look like they are the best team in the NBA. I still have questions about them getting to the rim and how they generate their threes by getting to the rim as opposed to just ping-ponging it around the perimeter, then shooting, or jacking up, a pull-up three-point shot. But the Celtics across the board just have versatility. Obviously, can't forget about Derek White, who is having a career year. The Celtics are just stacked. That's why they have the best record in the NBA, and that's why they're the favorite to come out of the East. So there are my grades for every Eastern Conference team to this point as we sit here at the All-Star break. Part 1, the link to that video will be in the description below. Stay tuned for the Western Conference. That will drop this week, and we will see you then.